So let's talk about a business case study, but with a twist. The stakes? Well, they're prehistoric, literally. We're looking at a situation where everything is new, the risks are a complete mystery, and if you mess up, well, the consequences are beyond imaginable. This is what we're calling the Jurassic security paradox.
Okay, so right off the bat, let's just be clear about what's on the line here. I mean, the source material puts it bluntly, failure could be catastrophic. We're not just talking about losing money or a bad quarter. We're talking about a single, tiny mistake leading to absolute total disaster. For everyone.
So, who's behind all this? A company called InGen, and what they've done, it's the stuff of science fiction. Through some pretty incredible work in biotech and genetic engineering, they've pulled off a miracle. They've brought dinosaurs back from the dead. And what do you do with dinosaurs? Well, you build a theme park, of course.
But here's the crazy part. After all that, achieving the impossible, rewriting biology, spending who knows how much money, it all comes down to one single question. And it sounds simple, but it's terrifyingly complex. Who builds the fences? Seriously, who do you possibly trust to build a cage for something that hasn't walked the earth in 65 million years? And that very question, that central problem, it's so unique, it really deserves its own name. So that's what this first section is all about. The Jurassic security paradox. It's all about trying to manage a risk that has literally never existed before. I mean, just put yourself in their shoes for a minute. You're the CEO of InGen. What's your game plan? What's the playbook? There isn't one. There are no best practices, no government regulations, zero historical data to look at. You're completely flying blind. So how do you even begin to make the right choice?
And that's the core of it right there. That's the Jurassic security paradox. It's what happens when our technology, our innovation, just completely leaps ahead of our ability to control it. You're forced to make these huge life-or-death decisions with no safety net, basically writing the rulebook on page 1 while the game is already in play.
Okay, so if you're going to navigate a paradox like this, you're going to have to make some tough calls, some really critical trade-offs. And that brings us to our next section, because as you'll see, every option on the table has its own massive risk attached.
All right, trade-off number 1, proven versus pioneering. It's that classic dilemma, right? Do you go with the old reliable choice, the company that's been building fences for maximum security prisons for like 50 years? Their stuff is predictable, it works. Or do you take a gamble on the new guys, the pioneers with some crazy cutting-edge tech that's supposedly perfect for containing dinosaurs, but has never, ever been tested in the real world?
And then, of course, there's the big one, safety versus profitability. This is a battle in any business, but here it's magnified 1,000 times over. Think about it. Every single dollar you pour into another layer of electrified fencing or a backup to the backup power system is a dollar you can't spend on making the park cooler for visitors or, making your investors happy. So where do you draw the line between safe enough and going bankrupt?
Last but not least, you've got this really strategic decision to make. Ownership versus affordability. Does InGen go all in and develop its own unique security tech from scratch? I mean, that would be huge for them long term. They'd own the intellectual property. It'd be a massive strategic advantage. Or do they just go with a cheaper, off-the-shelf option to save some cash, even if it's not a perfect fit for, a T-Rex?
So these aren't just ideas on a whiteboard, right? These trade-offs get very, very real when it's time to actually hire someone and sign a check. And that's where InGen finds itself. This brings us to our next section, the contractor crucible. It's decision time.
So really, it boils down to two very different paths. You've got option 1, the big established company. Super reliable, but also super expensive. Not very innovative, and you're just licensing their tech. Then there's option 2, the smaller, specialized shop. They're way more innovative, it costs less, and you might even end up owning the tech yourself. The catch? Their reliability is a giant question mark.
And this is where you realize just how heavy this decision is. Because whatever InGen picks, it's not just about their one park. It sets the standard. It defines an entirely new industry. They're not just building a fence. They're literally building the blueprint for how humanity deals with this kind of power.
Okay, so why are we talking about this? Why does any of this matter? Well, the dinosaurs might not be real, but this paradox? Oh, it's very, very real. And that's what our final section is all about. Lessons beyond the island. We're going to see how this plays out in our own world. Right now.
Look, the Jurassic security paradox isn't really about dinosaurs at all.
It's about something much bigger. All those core ideas, managing insane risks, trying to balance safety with progress, making huge calls with no rulebook, that's the story of basically every major tech breakthrough happening today.
Just think about it. We are wrestling with our own versions of this paradox all over the place. How do we make AI safe and ethical? What are the rules for private companies flying to space? How do we handle gene editing, securing biotech? Every single one of these is its own Jurassic Park, a new island with powerful new creatures that we don't totally get yet.
When you boil it all down, the takeaway is actually pretty simple. The core challenge is exactly the same: managing the unknown. It doesn't matter if you're trying to keep a velociraptor in its paddock or prevent a runaway AI. The job is the same: figuring out how to responsibly handle powerful, unpredictable things that we've just created.
And that really leaves us with one last big question to chew on. Our world is all about progress, right? We're always pushing the envelope, so we're constantly facing our own version of Ingen's dilemma. So let me ask you, when you're standing on the edge of something totally new, what's the bigger risk? The risk of a spectacular failure, or the risk of doing nothing and getting left behind completely?